Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we are looking at NBA player props on Friday here. 2 games more as we roll along in this postseason. Nate, we've got the Nuggets looking to stave off a 3-0 deficit in Minnesota, and then those Pacers are coming back home to hopefully at least get a game for themselves. Not hopefully if you're a Knicks fan, but we are going to be looking at player props in this episode. We also have best bets up in another one. We're bringing both of these to you each and every day now moving forward throughout this postseason. So continue to follow along, subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com, use that prop finder tool that's up there under the NBA tab so you can see all of the lines and the odds that are coming back your way for all these bets and player props that you might want to make this NBA postseason. Nate, let's go ahead, get right into your first ditty here. I believe we're talking about Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how we do not have the confidence to bet on Denver to win this game, but I think we know that they're going to have to switch up the game plan a little bit here. So I'm going to take the Joker, that is, to go over 8.5 points in the first quarter. About even money there, and plus 125 for him to be the leading scorer in the first quarter, which is in part just a fate of Ant Edwards, who's just kind of let the game come to him. So, I mean, at least in game 2. In game 1, he just totally took over from jump. But, I mean, the attention he gets now from Denver, it makes him kind of just rotate the ball around, and that's why Minnesota's been playing so well. Cat did lead game 2 in scoring with 11 there. I mean, I don't expect that to be a repeatable situation, at least not back-to-back, because I think Joker will probably get him in foul trouble for starters. I think he came out with that intention in game 1, didn't get a couple calls early that could have swung things a little bit. But I mean, the point is Jamal Murray is absolutely struggling. He's absolutely being hounded by this tag team. The what was it? Non-order is the nickname they've given them now. McDaniels and Alexander Walker, and yeah, I mean, so Joker knows he has to step up. He's now in the more familiar situation, if he can get Cat in foul trouble, of going one-on-one with Rudy, who he does know how to beat. He got the best of him in game 1, but we remember I have 47, brother. And I mean, the Denver offense, they were just too calm and too reliant on their system, right? Nobody's going to force a shot. We're not going to play hero ball. Speaking of the Celtics tonight, just playing hero ball and collapsing, but they're just going to run their stuff, get to a shot. And Minnesota's yeah, we've seen all this on film. So we know exactly what you're doing. Continue to run your stuff. That's great. And then no, they have to have somebody who can break that system. And the Joker is that, coming off his MVP presentation, for what that's worth. But the point is, he plays all 12 minutes in the first. He scores 8 points per game in this playoffs on 56% shooting. In the past, he's been the guy who lets it come to him, right? Who plays through the system and gets everything rolling for Denver. In the Western Conference Finals last year, only 4.8 points per game against the Lakers. And let's be honest, they kind of just take the Lakers lightly and then know they can just turn it on late. But even in that series against Minnesota, who they admit was a tougher test, 7.6 points per game for Joker, 10 points per game in the 2 at Minnesota, trying to set the tone on the road, despite he didn't actually play the full first quarter in those ones. He played 10.5 minutes. And I mean, in that game 4, their one loss to Minnesota and that went to OT, he finished with 43 points on 42% usage, clearly understanding that when the chips are down, I got to be able to score here to get us out of this offensive funk.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think he can afford. It was kind of a correlation last year too of playing on the road, Joker score, playing at home, Joker pass, because he trusts his role players a little bit more. There's also just must have basket, Joker score sort of correlation. So I do think that's a play. I mean, there's not much of a fear that in the first quarter he comes out and dimes up. You could take some over assists, I think, too, for him in the first quarter. But with Rudy back in there and the way that we know they're going to play that off ball coverage, it's good to take the points. I don't think much changes for Michael Malone and company for when it comes to Jokic take a lot of shots when they're just single coveraging you, because there's nobody in the NBA that can guard you in single coverage. But I'm going to start with Hartenstein. Go back to the kid here. You talk about a guy who's just going to keep getting minutes. Look, I didn't think he would get quite as many minutes in the last game without Mitch Rob. I still thought that Precious would come in, and Precious did come in, but they actually ran them both together. And it looks like Isaiah is iHeart. Let's just go with iHeart. It's so much easier. For iHeart. It looks like he's man, where do you put him in level of importance for this Knicks squad now that OG is out? It's like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Isaiah Hartenstein is right up there, and just as important for the offense at this point, in my opinion, as he is the defense. Like, he's a dude that you have to guard. You have to worry about him, and he damn near had a triple double in this last game with the way he was dishing that ball, and I think he'll continue to be that important for them as a distributor in the game. So like the PRA is a great play here because he's damn well liable to get the 7-8 assists again, honestly, with the amount of potentials he had. 13 in the last game. There's been a couple other games this season against this team where he was the same thing in the regular season. It was also without Mitch Rob, and you got more Precious Achiuwa in those games too. So I think Precious being in there is like a really nice opportunity for him. He had 2 assists rather in the last game to Precious though, from that like high post to low post, and they play that really well because when they're both on the floor together, they're going to be able to like match up and probably have an advantage when they're on offense against the likes of a Miles Turner and even Pascal, because Precious is a little bit bigger than him to be able to get that stuff down low. So I like all that stuff. You kind of talk about before how he's running everything from the elbow, which is 100% right. And it's going to continue to be that way, which is why I really liked his assists all series. And I wanted to take it at 2.5 in the first game, and I just didn't. And it hit cleanly, and continues to, because of the fact that like what happens if the defense has 2 choices, right? They're either able to stay with Brunson once Hartenstein comes up to the high elbow or the 3-point line sets that screen. They've got 2 options now. It's like, do we get out on Jalen and attack him, or do we like let him give it to Hartenstein and make him make the decisions, which is more dangerous? And like Hartenstein's starting to like rise the ranks of how dangerous that actually is of a play for this Knicks squad with his ability to distribute from there. As far as the rebounds go, like, man, OG was always going to be in a, like, I liked OG rebounds last game. He had 4 before he got hurt in the middle of the third quarter and left. So along with our chances to beat the Boston Celtics, I lost a bet because he didn't get 6 boards. But with his exit, and now we're talking about like a little bit of a different situation where I like maybe Precious is still guarding Pascal down low, but it's just as likely now that you can switch between Precious and a Hartenstein for who's guarding Pascal Siakam. And I think they're going to be okay with other guys guarding Miles Turner out on the 3-point line, which is another reason to just believe in Hartenstein rebounds even more. He's going to be closer to the basket on defense. He's going to continue to be really crucial for them to get those boards, because actually in the first half of last game, they got out. I believe they got out rebound on the offensive boards. Like, there were more offensive rebounds for the Pacers in the first half of this last game than in the fourth quarter. The Knicks just like chewed on the glass, right? As we saw, it was a big reason that they were able to like come back and then build that lead in the fourth quarter, was the offensive rebounding. And I still think the fourth quarter offensive rebounding, I wish I could bet on that. Like, can I bet on the Knicks over 5 like offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter? Because that's been something they've been doing as a means to, like, I believe it was somebody said, it might have been Stan SVG or somebody was like, sometimes their best offense is a missed shot because they're so good at getting the offensive rebound, and they're very poised once they get that rebound. And that's a huge part to, like, that's mostly Isaiah Hartenstein. Let's be completely honest. He's been an incredible, like, cerebral player for them. So I think all this stuff is still going to be there. I don't think he'll get more than like 40-ish minutes, but I got to put his ceiling at 40 as a legitimate amount of time that he could play in this one.
It's all Hart. It's all the Hart Foundation, Josh
Yes.
Hart. That is, yes. I mean,
Yes.
you cannot talk about offensive rebounding without that man, who is, I'm gonna take his prop here, 21.5 points and assists, which is juiced way up. But I mean, it saves you from adding 14 rebounds to his PRA total, whereas his prop is only 12.5 rebounds. So I think it's worth just taking the points and assists here, especially with the doubt cast on Brunson here, who's questionable. And I saw we just got props hung up here, and DK gave Miles McBride 6.5. FanDuel did 11.5. So if this airs soon, you got to go to DraftKings and bet that, because Miles McBride is going to be playing regardless. And if Brunson's out, like that is a lock. But if Brunson's out as well, I mean, we're going to see Josh Hart take a lot more shots for sure. I mean, we talked about how he likes to push the pace in this series. He's basically the only Knickerbocker who likes to run up and down the floor. And I mean, he's topped this in 6 of 7 playoff games, averaging 18 and 5.3 in 47 minutes per game. This series, the assists have been way up, partially because, what you're saying with Hartenstein, I'm thinking to myself, like, the Pacers are just so bad at watching back cuts and like not collapsing and leaving shooters and leaving DiVincenzo wide open, that these assists are like pretty easy to come by, especially against this team. And OG had a 36% usage rate in that game, suddenly out of nowhere to crush my under for his points. But with him out, like, everybody else is going to have to take a lot more shots for sure. Josh Hart already shooting 70% on 10.5 drives per game, also a 14% assist rate on those drives. OG was only shooting 33% on his drives with a 16% assist rate. So I think Josh has been a better playmaker for others going in there against a team that lacks rim protection for sure. 11 potential assists per game in the series. 10 of his 14 came in the second half, have come in the second half of the series when Brunson gets that extra attention, right? And that's part of why we criticize Rick Carlisle. It's like you're trapping Brunson 50 feet from the basket and then just allowing like Josh Hart and company to like make these really easy reads and put so much pressure on your defense to either score or be in great position to get the rebound. So Josh Hart in this series now has more passes per game than Halliburton. Only Nikola Jokic in the last 2 games has thrown more passes than Josh Hart, who plays 48 minutes a game as well. So yeah, I mean, any over for him is for both of these guys is just banked on volume. And I guess it goes wrong if the Knicks are blown out. If Tibbs pulls the plug and says, like, look, we can lose one of these in Indy. We just need to get healthy for Sunday. But I'm not going to operate under that assumption because that's just usually not what Tibbs does.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you have to worry about like garbage time minutes. I'm just going to quickly read you his minutes game log in the playoffs. And this is going from the last game to the first game. 48, 48, 46, 53, 46, 43, 48. So there's 48 minutes in a basketball game, just so everybody knows. So he played all of overtime and the other, like, yes, he's, yes, rebounds. This is crazy. 14. This is absurd. You can't bet on someone to get that. Like we're out of control now. But like that's almost like making somebody's home run prop line like 1.5. Like you don't even give them a half a lie, right? Like it's really hard to do. But if anybody could do it, it's him. Either way, sticking with the points and assists, I think is a clever way to at least get him. And there was some head-to-head stuff for him to get head-to-head assists that I think actually were pretty valuable for him. If you're on DraftKings, I would check those out as well. But I'll close it out here with Jamal Murray under again, and I'm going to leave the rebounds out of it. But I'm not mad at anybody who wants to add the rebounds. But the points and assists, and this is really this. I took this in game 1. I stayed away in game 2 because they were still at home, and it was like, they got to have it. And I think I was with the majority of America and the world when I didn't think that the Timberwolves would blow out the Nuggets on their home court down when they were down and needed to win. So, right. Like, but that said, like, yes, they're even more dire straits now. They have to win. I don't care. That doesn't trump Jaden McDaniels guarding Jamal Murray in the last this season. Rather, we'll just leave it at that. 6 games. McDaniels available for all of them. In the ones that he's available, Jamal goes under. He's averaging 20.2 PA in the last 6 games versus Jaden McDaniels. This is at 26.5 for the PA for Murray. He's still at the 20 points, 20.5 point prop, which in and of itself is still like, I'm not scared of that, to be honest, but like I like adding the assists because I still just don't think it's going to be like the majority of these buckets versus this team are not going to be assisted too often unless it's like, the swinging the ball all the way out to the corner, that kind of thing. But like, I don't know what else Michael Malone has up his sleeve when his best play is clearly Jamal Murray pick and roll with Nikola Jokic, and Jamal Murray is just not Jamal Murraying right now. And it's really tough to do that when like the sort of, I would say the crux of his ability to score off of that pick and roll with Jokic, really like it's predicated on like, if I'm within 12 feet, this is butter. Like it's never going to miss. And that shot ain't there for him with Jaden McDaniels. So it's either you got to pull up and take a somewhat contested 3. I believe McDaniels blocked one of his 3s last game, or you got to come into the trees, baby, and come play in the forest where it's down low, where it's not another thing you don't really want to do. When every single freaking player on that Wolves team, it looks like there's 6 guys on the floor all the time for this team. So for Murray, I just think he's going to have trouble getting open. I think the go-to is going to continuously be Jokic in the post, and that's still not going to be an assisted play because Jokic lets things matriculate. Yeah. Either way, he lets things go through and then let everybody get away from him, and then he's just going to take Rudy down low, and that's not going to be an assist opportunity. So I just don't think he's good for both of them together.
Yeah, I mean, this line 26.5 is what I'm seeing here, but. Yeah. I think, the assist under at plus money is probably even better than 20.5 points is where he's at. Cause I don't think he's going to shoot this poorly. I mean, despite the incredible defense, like he has had his opportunities to hit his tough shots. This is like what Jamal Murray does. Let's not forget that he was not healthy at the end of that Lakers series and was hitting ridiculously hard shots in the fourth quarter. He's going to step back after literally disgracing himself, throwing something on the floor. I think he will. Yeah, I think he might be able to score, but the way the Wolves are guarding him, yeah, to your point, there's almost no chance that he piles up assists. Like they're just like, we're taking away all your pet plays. This you're not getting any assist to Joker. Like we're cutting off your lifeline. The two of you can go set in separate rooms and try to figure things out. Over 2.5 turnovers is also a look for Jamal Murray after 4 in the last game there because of that. Because these guys are just going to be all over him because the officials are allowing that. And now we're in Minnesota. Doesn't seem like he's going to get more calls. He's just going to have to play through it. But yeah, I think I don't think 5.5 assists is going over for sure.
Yeah. Wait, so you don't think Adam Silver made the call to the refs being like, I know we're on the road for these Nuggets, but we need some more foul calls?
Scott Foster's reffing tonight, so he can't be there. Yeah.
That was Tony Brothers, by the way. Tony Brothers, notorious, just like, keep playing. Don't get out of here. Keep playing, right? So that was a little bit of maybe an outlier. And honestly, that one play that was going viral with Murray bringing the ball up and getting hounded by NAW and Jamal and Jaden McDaniels was like, there weren't that many fouls in there, man. That was pretty good D. I mean, it was really, really good D. But either way, that's all the time we have for you on player props now that we've dissected the referee play here as well in the playoffs. To continue to follow along, though, subscribe to that page. We got best bets up alongside these player props. We're bringing you both of these videos each and every day now moving forward. So until we see you next, happy betting.